All right, guys, I believe, yeah, I believe you can hear me. And, just to confirm, I would like us to drop a message in the chat, right? So just drop a message, drop an emoji, and I will kick off once I confirm that everyone can hear me. All right, great. So what we're going to be covering in this session, we're going to cover how to work with formulas. We're also going to cover how to work with charts, right? When working with charts, we're going to learn how to create, basic sample dashboard, right? So we'll use the data that we have on the spreadsheet to come up with a sample dashboard. So now that we're about to kick off, I see we have 12 people viewing live. Let me go ahead and set up a new worksheet. Remember that I showed you in the previous session, I showed you how to create a new sheet. The shortcut, right? The shortcut you can use when trying to create a new sheet. So in case you don't remember, I said you could use the sheets.new, right? So if you're currently following with your laptop, go ahead and do this. Just type in sheets.new, and you should have a new spreadsheet created. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do right now, I already have a sheet opened up right here. So what I'm going to do is to put in that, set of data. I think one more thing is I also wanted to share a particular cheat sheet with you. Before the end of this session, I'll do that. Let's go ahead and set up our new spreadsheet. So I'm going to have a column for full name. I'm going to also separate the data. So first name and let's say first name, right? So we have first name, we have last name. We are also going to have email, right? So let's have email, valid email. There was a mistake right here, so this should be email. Okay, so we also have a valid email, and that is just a way to show if that particular email is true or false. We're going to have active, and this active is going to be more like a question, right? So it's going to be yes or no, or probably true or false, right? Or we can even set a different type of, different options, right? I think what we can do instead is we can even use status, maybe current status. Okay, and we are also going to put in another item, let's say salary. We're also going to put in tax, and we're going to put date employed. All right, so I think this is fine. Let's go ahead and set this, our header, make this bold, so that when we scroll, it doesn't exceed, or it doesn't, this would not go out of view, right? So now we're going to put in some dummy data here. Remember, if you're not part of the session yesterday, I was able to show you how to, create dummy data. We are going to use that as well right now. So let's go ahead and open up mokaru.com. All right. So basically, I explained how to use mokaru.com, but if you are not in that session, you can always go back and watch that session. I don't want us to delay, so after this session, you can always go back and watch that, watch the previous session from yesterday. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're basically going to create, probably like 20 or maybe even 10 CSV data. So let's just work with 10. We are simply going to set the first item to be full name, right? So yeah, so now that we're setting the first item to be full name, let's take off this item. I think we also have to take this off so that we don't we don't have random data in those fields. So we're going to have the full name. We're also going to have the email and the, the valid email option. So we have the email right here. We have valid email. We also have status. I think what we use in our own use case is current status, salary, and tax. Okay, so current status, salary. Okay, what else do we have here? Tax and employee dates. All right, so basically we're not going to be, adding tax. Instead, we'll add the employed date. The reason why we're not adding the tax is, it's simply because we are trying to, use a formula for that. So let's work with the employee date. We have to change the type, of course. So for the type here, we're going to search for a name. And I think we can search for full name. Okay, right here. Okay, so then for the email, we just have to add email address. For the valid email, we'll also use email address, but I think maybe we can use a Boolean, true or false. Okay. The current status, I think I can just search for status. Hopefully we have pending, or maybe we can do that manually, because I doubt if you can get pending or active, those kind of data in here. I mean, it's very possible. You can take out your time to explore the data options you have here. I'm not very sure if you have it. Just take out some time to explore, and probably you'll find the status option, right? Let's just put in the date time. I think that works. Okay, so now we have this set of items. I think this is fine. What we can do is, download this as a CSV, right? Ensure you're downloading this as a CSV item, and we just need 10 items, right? So I'm going to click on download data. Of course, you can preview before you download, but yeah, I think we know what we're doing right now. So I'm going to go back to my Excel or my spreadsheet, my Google Sheet file. I'm going to import this data. So let's click on import. I'm going to upload this. Of course, you can always drag and drop the file. I have that file in my downloads folder, and I think it's called mock data right here. I don't think that is it. So I think it's this mock data. Let's open this. All right, so we have that uploaded. Now it's asking us to select the import location. I want this to, be appended to this current sheet, and the separator detect automatically. Okay, so let's see import. All right, so we're going to take off this column because that's kind of like a repetition. Delete that row. So now we have the full name, we have the email, we have the valid email, we have a current status. I think this is meant to be gender. So definitely I made a mistake here. Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'm going to take this off. For the salary, I think we have to move this into, let's cut this from here with Command X or Control X into the data employed. For the salary, we're going to put in random values, right? Let's start with 100,000. Okay. Let's just move this down here. So I'm going to edit some of these items, just to make it feel random. And this is going to be 500. This is going to be maybe 10,000. This is going to be 50,000. Okay. This is going to be 150. This is going to be 300. Let's use 300 right here, and probably 450. Okay, so I think this is fine for now. Let's use 90 here. Okay, so now we have these salary items. I'm going to select this field, and of course, I'm going to click on format, number, and then I'm going to set this to currency. Okay, so if you're finding any of this confusing, you can drop your questions in the chat, right? Or you can also ask your questions on the Discord server if you're already on the Discord server. But of course, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I'll pick it up from here and I will answer your questions. Yeah, as soon as I can. So the next thing I'm going to complete here is going to be the tax. And of course, this is where we'll start working with formulas. Before we do that, let's just fill in some random status. I'm going to have pending. I'm going to have confirmed. So let's assume this is kind of like, a database where you have some users that are pending and some are confirmed, right? So probably for the valid email, I'm going to use pending, and this will be confirmed. This will be confirmed. This will be pending. Okay, so I think what I'm going to show you is how to even put this status using a formula, right? Just to give you a quick, insight on how you can do that. Let's go ahead and, fill in the tags first. I'm going to use the equal sign. That's the first thing you have to do when trying to put in a formula, right? And now that we have the equal sign, we are basically going to reference this salary field, which is E2, as you can see, column E, row 2, right? So if I reference E2, you see that we're currently, highlighting the E2 cell. The next thing I'm going to do there is to multiply this by 10, divide by 100. Okay. Just to be sure. Okay, so we have 1500 right there. This is 150, so this is 10% of this value. So what we're going to simply do is to, I think I remember explaining how to do this, but I'm going to zoom in and let's see if you can understand this. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm simply dragging, from this dot you see right here, this blue dot, I'm going to simply drag this down to the end, and it will automatically, compute the value for the rest items, right? So we're able to, get the 10% value from this salary, and we're assuming that that is our tax, right? So we have a field right here, working with formulas, which means the value you see here is not plain text, but it's a computed value using a very simple Excel formula, right? And we're also going to work with some formulas where we have to use the, some predefined Excel functions. I will show you how to do that. Okay, so for the current status, what we're going to do is to use a formula this time around using a function, and we call this if, right? We're going to use the if function. So in order to use the if function, what we're going to do is to put in our equal sign, and we're going to put in the if condition, right? So I wanted to also ensure that I show you, let's take that off with Control Z or Command Z. I wanted to show you that, someone was asking, how do we remember, or, how do we know these functions? Basically, we have a bunch of functions here, and, when I learned how to use these functions, of course, it's been a very long time. I basically, search for the function I need, and I, read up. If I find that function, I read up how that function works from here. So if I click on a quick example here, you don't need to know all the functions. I mean, maybe you've not tried any of them in statistics or mathematics. They might exist here, but you don't necessarily need to know them. So if I check for an example like average, average is going to explain. By the time I hover on it, or I click on the function right here, it's going to explain, how the function would work, right? You see, you have an example. First, you have an example, then you have about, right? So this is to show you that they are basically working with a range here, average of A2 to A100 and B2 to B100, right? So this would return the numerical average value in the data set, right? Ignoring all the text, which means it's working with the numbers, right? Numerical average value. Okay, so the value, I think what you have here is the first value or range to consider when calculating the average value. Okay, so that's the first value right here. As you can see, from the formula, we're not using that, but obviously you see that when you select a specific formula and you hover on that formula, you are able to get a detailed explanation, right? So you see now we have counts, you have an example, and you have an explanation on how the how the formula works. Okay, all right, so let's work with our if, right? So select if, and now you see just by clicking on that, you see we have this would return one value if the logical expression is true, and another value if it is false. So basically it is conditional, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to check if the value we have on C2, if C2, so we're going to have true, right? Now we're checking for status, right? So if C2 means if C2 is true, because we did not really specify if it's true, but I can do that by, specifying if it is true, just like this. So if it is true, tell us it is active, right? Else, tell us that it is pending. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this properly. So what we are checking is we're checking for a string value, basically, right? So we're saying if C2 is equals true. You get that? So if C2 is equals true, write or put in the string that it is active. So the first value is going to be the truth, or the truthy value. And the other value you have in here is going to be the falsy or the false value. So if C2 equals true, then this should be active, else it should be pending. So of course, this is false. So definitely you're expecting to see pending, right? If I drag this down to the end, okay, now we see that everything shows off as pending. So which means there's something wrong right here. Let's go ahead and take off the string. Let's try this once again. Okay. All right. So that did not work with the string. Control Z. All right. So what I changed here is I removed the string value, and now we're working with the direct Boolean value, which is true. Okay. So if that is true, then it's going to be active, else it's going to be pending. All right. So, and what I did was simply drag this. So now you see when you have a true value, it's active. If I change this to false, okay, it becomes pending. So it changes automatically, right? So back to true, and let's change this to true. So you see it is active, right? So that's a simple formula. And you see that the moment you reference a particular value, or the moment you reference, a specific cell using a formula, when anything changes within that cell, the expectation is that the value, in the new cell or in the new formula-based cell would also change, right? So it is very reactive. Okay. Now we have the emails, we have the name. I'm simply going to expand this, and I remember showing you how to do this in the previous class as well. So you can simply expand this. If for some reasons you want to have a specific field, labeled with a specific color, just for some reasons, you can always hover on this, and remember you can fill in, or format that cell with the specific color you want, right? So now you have this color showing that this is a very important, part of the document or the sheet. I feel it is even better to have this sheet colored, right? Just to show some level of importance, if I may use that word. So yeah, I think that works. Importance. All right. So now we have a very simple, spreadsheet showing us, the full name, the email, the valid email addresses, the current status, the salary, the tax, and also the date employed. Before we proceed to creating a chart, I think we can also work with some other formulas, right? Of course, remember we have learned how to perform sort operations. You can choose to sort by the tax, by the email, using ascending or descending order if you want to. You can sort by the valid emails if you wish to. I think we can also go ahead and show an example on that. But before I do that, let me show you how referencing would work. Remember, I told you in the previous session that it is ideal to have multiple sheets, to hold different type of data. I mean, of course, including our chart. We're going to have a separate sheet for that. But what we're going to do right now is to first, rename these sheets to ensure that we are keeping, proper or standard names for our files and sheets. Okay, so since this is formula, I think I will change this to formula and charts. Formulas, charts, okay. And yeah, next I am going to rename this, and I'm going to say raw. Yeah, we can call this data sets. Okay, I'm also going to set a color for this sheet, and I'm going to use yellow. All right, so you see we have that yellow highlight at the bottom here. Okay, so I'm going to click on plus, and this I'm going to refer to this as reference sheets. Okay, so we're not doing anything complex with the reference sheet. Basically, I just want us to have a simple data set right here, and that data set is simply going to be, let's say we are going to have okay, yeah, so let's put in let's try to compare first. So we have full name, email, valid email, current status, salary, tax, and date employed. Yeah, so I think maybe what we could have is department, right? Yeah, so we could have department on the reference sheet, departments. Maybe we could have company and department. So company and department. So in the company here, I'm simply going to use a simple company, top universe, stick. So, okay. So now we have three companies right here. So let's assume these are the three companies where these people work, right? So we have 10 items here, or maybe we can just have two companies, right? Top universe and both click. And for the departments, we have the IT department and we have the sales department. All right, so let's make this bold. Of course, let's pin this so that yeah, we just have that. Okay, so we have it right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're simply going to reference, we're going to try to get one of these items in a different data, in a different sheet, which is the data set sheet. There are a bunch of, advanced functions that you can perform, using advanced formulas. We might not touch on that because I want to believe that most of us are trying to learn this tool, and most of us are not, extremely advanced in using this spreadsheet tool. So we're going to keep it simple, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to reference the sheet we have right here, which is the company sheet, okay? So let's go ahead and just add the company. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference that sheet by saying we have, let's see, okay. All right, so let's reference that sheet. I'm going to say reference, okay, reference sheets. Just to be sure, I'm going to do A2, right? So let's see, A2, exclamation sign. Okay, so I have an error, which means I am definitely making a mistake with that reference. Yeah, I'm definitely making a mistake with that reference. Okay, so just give me a minute. I'm going to see if I can check out cancel. Let's see, save that. So I want to be sure if there's a spelling mistake or something. Reference sheets. So this is a formula pass error. Okay, all right. So I'm going to try to resolve that. Of course, this happens most times. You can't really remember every single field, okay, or every single formula. So so simple. Let's do simple Google Sheets reference. To fix that. Okay, so linking Google Sheets. So this is this is going to be an example from this blog, blog.golayer.io. And I'm very sure this is going to be a simple example based on my, let's see. Okay, so we have sales 2020, which is the name of the different sheets. All right, so I see that was the mistake. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and try to fix this. So we have just right here. I still have that mistake. Let's go back again. Okay, so this is C2, this is sales 2020, exclamation C2. All right. Okay, so I discovered that, I had a column here and that was wrong. So basically you set your reference sheet and then you use the exclamation sign to, reference the exact cell you're trying to grab. Okay, and that is what we have here, Top Universe. So yeah, you can check out this blog if you want more details on how to do that, blog.golayer.io. Let's go back and proceed. Okay, so I was able to reference A2, right? Referencing A2 gave us the top universe value, which of course is what you see right here at A2, right? So we can also reference the A3. Let's try that. Let's go back and try that. So A3, I can simply copy this formula, copy this formula, or probably just drag that item. I can't drag that item for long because it's going to then try to either repeat, or, you have nothing, because there's currently no item in A4, right? So you see there's no item in A4. If I go ahead to add an item like, maybe Roselle, and I put maybe the marketing department, of course, that is going to be referenced automatically. So you see we have Roselle, but I'm going to simply continue to use A2 for some of these values. So we're going to have A2, A2. So let's just paste in, and I'm going to double click to change the value. So we'll have A2, we have A3, we'll have A4, right? And we'll go back to A2. All right, so just because I try to reference the same values, right? So I think this is fine. This is a simple way to reference, the items you have in a different sheet. What you have to do is, you put in the name of that sheet. If that sheet has a space, for example, if I rename this sheet and I add a space there, you see that the values we have here would also change. Right now you see that the formula is currently using the this single quote a symbol, right? So the single quote symbol, because you have a space in there. If you don't have that symbol, then there's going to be a problem, right? You're going to have an error, and because of the space you have in between, you have to ensure that this quotes, or this single quote, is there to make the reference work. Yeah. So, but in my opinion, I would advise you manage learn to avoid these spaces if you can, right? So now we have this simple sheets. We've used some simple set of formulas. What other type of formula can we use? Basically, you can use formulas like count, right? We can use a formula like count if you want to count the number of items. So for example, you want to count for the number of items that have let's take this off, the number of items that have let's say $100,000. So let's do 100,000 within the range of E2, if I'm not mistaken, to E11. Okay, let's see if that works for us. So we have 11. Basically, I think that is wrong. So instead, I think what we're checking instead is it's actually counting for probably I can try removing this from a string. Now we're getting 12. Okay, so I just want to be sure. Maybe it was because of the comma. So let's go back to 100,000, just like this. Yeah, we are still getting the same value. So how is that even possible? So what we're trying to do, I think probably because we have the currency attached to this. Let's see where the mistake is coming from. Okay, so let's try to figure out. So I think we're still getting the same value, and that is probably because we have the currency sign attached to that. Okay, what I'm going to do instead is let's do count if, right? So let's do count if, and I'm going to try that same formula again this time around. I think count is basically giving me the total number of values I have in the data set. So we're going to try count if you have 100,000. Okay, 100,000 from that range. E2, let's go again down to E11. Am I correct? Okay, so now it's giving us this value once again because we don't have the exact value, I guess. So let's try this again. Let's try this again. Sorry, there was a mistake in there. So we're still having the same problem. So I think the problem is that the reason is coming from the symbols or the signs we have in there. And we're going to try this formula with a different example. Okay, let's go over a different example. So someone is saying, please go over the reference formula again. Yeah, I think it's because of the symbols, I believe. Correct, yeah. Okay, so someone is saying I should go over the reference formula again. I'm not going to remove the values here because I want us to use that for something, but I'll just do a quick overview on the reference. So let's assume you have a different sheet and you have a bunch of data in that sheet. You might want to use some of those fields, right? Or even do some kind of pattern matching, or maybe you want to pick an item from a different sheet and reuse it in one sheet. Okay. An example of when I use that in a real a spreadsheet file is maybe I have some default values like the tax rates, for example. Tax rates, this is fixed, and I don't want people making changes to this. I just want you to pick the tax rate from this file, right? So I can say our tax rate is 5%, right? Or our tax rate is 10%. All I expect you to do when computing your tax, for example, if you're trying to compute the tax here, I simply want you to, to pick this value as a reference. You can definitely do that. Just the same way you pick this value, you can pick, the tax rate value from here. So if I have that tax rate value, I'm not certain of that. Let's go back and see what the value is here. So this is B7, right? So we can go back here and pick the B7. B7. Okay, so you see we're using B7 for our computation. We did not put in the tax rate manually again, right? So of course, there's a mistake here. What is happening here is that it's trying to reference other fields that do not exist. So instead, what you can do is to ensure that every single item works with works with this, right? Without having to change anything. So that is something you might want to do. You might want to make it fixed. Okay, so I believe you understand what I mean. So you reference that file. We have the reference sheet. Of course, we have a space in there. That is why we have the single quotes, right? Then we have the exclamation sign with the B7. The B7 refers to the cell in this specific sheet. Okay, so yeah, let's just go ahead and yeah. But one thing you must understand is that the moment you change that value in the other sheets, it also affects what you have here. So we're going to try that. So you see what I mean. Let's just randomly change this. Let's just change this one after the other. And yeah, so now that you have this value set, if you come down to the reference sheet and you change this to say, our tax rate, has changed from 10% to 5%, the values in here would change automatically, right? So you see that change happened here. You had 1,000 here, that's changed to $500. Let's go back again and change this to 10. Let's see what we have this time around. It's back to $1,000. Okay, so I believe you understand that better now, Harrison. That's how you work with references. There are other advanced formulas. You can't. As a matter of fact, I don't expect anyone to remember every single formula. When you spend a lot of time working with a specific formula, you'll get used to that formula, right? Myself, I do forget some formulas, and I do a lot of Googling, and that is something you're going to also do most times, right? And for the cheat sheets, I really wanted to share this with you yesterday. I totally forgot after the training, so I'm going to do that right now. So if you have this cheat sheet, at least you are going to get most of these shortcuts. This file is from customguide.com. You can get. I'm going to share this on the chat. So I think yeah, you're going to have this shared on the chat shortly. I've dropped it in my box. So I think, okay, so you have that shared on the chat. I can see that now. Yeah, so you see we have a bunch of, cheat sheets, explanations, right? How to edit your worksheets, how to do basic formatting. Yeah, even how to, set up your charts and customize your charts. This is one of the best cheat sheets I've seen for Excel and, Google Sheets. Of course, it's similar, right? Even your conditions, of course, they're similar. You see, you have a nested function where you have the if statement right here. If D2 is greater than the average of, which means you're using multiple functions. You can use even more than like 10, 20 functions, that are nested if you know what you're trying to do. I've used a lot of advanced functions where you have a lot of, embedded or sub functions. Sometimes, it can be very complex. What you might have to do most times is break it down into multiple functions if you can. But I'm going to share this link. So all you have to do, is download, right? So just click on the link, you download this on your computer or on your phones, and you can check it out later. If you want to practice with your phone, yes, you can download or even use Google Sheets on your mobile phone. I believe so. Or you can download Excel, right? You can download the Excel tool, and most of this is basically for Excel. right? But most of these things are similar. Maybe not the interface, or maybe not everything on the interface, but most of the shortcuts and most of the formula functions and even the chat would work, right? It would work, the same way you would do that in Google Sheets. All right, so yeah, so just go ahead and download that. And so the reason why most of these items are not working, with the symbols, what we're going to do is to try the condition here, just to say, just to show you an example, right? So if you have if, we can say if the company, which is H2, right? So H2, if this is equals top universe, we can say new, else we can say, let's just put 1 and 2, right? So just to ensure, so if it's top universe, we have 1 and 2, and if it's not top universe, then you have 2, right? So if it's top universe, you have 1. If it's not top universe, you have 2. So you see we have that function. This is top universe, so it gives us 1. This is not top universe, so it gives us 2. Yeah, in most cases, you must not, you probably want to have a formula that is, reasonable to work with. So maybe you might have true or false, right? And I want to show you why I'm going to make this true or false. Yeah, so this is true or false right now. I'm going to expand this. So we have true, false, blah, blah, blah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this entire column. Let's go to format. Let's go to number, and let's see how we can change this type of value. I would love to let's see what can I do here. Okay, so I would love to change the type of value we have here, and I keep forgetting how to do that, but basically you can actually insert checkboxes, right? All right, so you see we have checkboxes, and basically I'm going to show you how to do that again. I also forgot how to do that, but yeah, so I went to insert and I selected checkboxes, right? So when you select checkbox, what happens is it's working with the condition right now, because the checkbox works with the true or false condition, right? So basically the item that is true is checked, right? And the item that is false is not checked. Okay, so if we go ahead to change this company, for example, from A2 to A3, you see it's unchecked automatically. So this is responsive, and or this is reactive, sorry, and you see that it's reacted to the change automatically. So I hope you understand that feature. Most times you might want to use that to identify some kind of conditions, if some kind of conditions are met on your sheet. Okay, so without wasting too much time again on this, let's delete this column, and we're going to proceed to bringing up or creating a very simple chart, right? This time we're going to create our chart. We're going to select the the salary value as compared to the let's do this like this. Okay, so I would want to move this. Yeah, I would want to move this right here. I want to create a very simple chart, using the salary and the date employed. So I'm simply going to highlight it this way, right? And yeah, I hope the symbol does not affect what we're trying to do, but I believe it shouldn't. So if I create a very simple chart, in order to create a chart, I click on the insert menu, and then I can insert a chart in here, right? So if I click on chart, by default, it's supposed to give me, yeah. So now we have a default chart, right? A default chart, and looking at the chart, the chart is actually picking the, I think the dates. You have the date right here on this axis, and then you have the salary range. So basically, it generated the salary range, not necessarily the salary you have in here, but with the range, it's able to then create some charts, or some bars, and measure the value to be in between those items. If you want to make this even more specific, you have a chart editor. You can customize this charts, right? And you can customize this chart up to the level you want, right? But of course, you see, you have the chart of the salary against the data employed. So what I'm going to do right now is now we have a column chart, right? And that was suggested by default. You can change this to a line chart if you want to, right? So let's use a smooth line. Okay, so this is not what I want. I simply wanted to use come on, why are you let's go back again. I'm going to switch this. So currently we're using a column chart. We have a bar chart. Yeah, I think this is what I wanted, a scatter chart. Okay, so you can actually switch this to a bunch of chart types. Remember that if you don't have a good set of data, your chart is going to look funny, very funny. So you can always change this. I believe in most cases you would understand the type of data you're working with and the type of chart you're trying to create. This is not a full-blown session to teach you how to do advanced chart design, but you see, you can even use a geographical chart type, maybe trying to show some set of data, maybe from a specific country. If you have the country data in here, you can actually create a map and show maybe the numbers of people or the numbers of activities happening within that particular region, right? So of course, you can even set up a pie chart if you want to. If you want to set up a pie chart, I believe we can even do that simply by using the salary option here alone. We can actually insert a chart and select the pie chart. Let's go and select the pie chart. So you can select the pie chart. It has multiple values, taking up this space. This is not, this is understandable, but of course, not really reasonable to work with as well. You can actually switch the type of, chart you want to have. This is a donut chart basically, right? So if I go down, select pie chart again, we have that same value. We can choose to turn on some labels or probably turn off the labels. So by turning on the label, you see it's able to put in, the estimation, the salary value we have here on the chart, right? You see we have 200, we have 100,000, we have did I put 900,000 in here? I did. Oh, wow. Okay. So you have 900,000 as a salary. And that's why that's okay. So yeah, we can also choose to, make some changes or even customize this, right? So you can change the chart style, the background color, the fonts, the font type, right? The border color if you want one. I can see you can even switch this to a 3D chart, right? So this is great. What you might also want to do, you can customize this on any charts. And of course, you don't want to have this in here. So let's go ahead and create a new sheet. This is going to be our dashboard, for example, dashboard. Am I renaming? Oh yeah, I almost made a mistake there. So dashboard. Let's move this down here. I'm going to change the color as well. Yeah, let's use purple. Yeah, so remember when you hover on this or when you click on this, you have those, different sheets, shown with different colors. So it might be easy for you to know the sheets you're trying to work with. Okay, so I'm going to select this. I'm going to right click on this. And, what you can do is when you right click, you can actually, edit this, probably change the chart style. Yeah. So, yeah, you can even, I think you can add a legend. Can you? Let's see. Of course, you can add the legend, you can edit it, and I'm sure you know what that is. Just a very cool way to make people understand some of the components or some of the descriptions you have on your chart if it's confusing. So yes, you can do that. I'm going to move this right to its own sheet. I think this is the most important part here. You need to understand that when working with a chart, of course you can edit, delete the chart. You can even download the chart, right? You can download that chart as an image or PDF document, or an SVG, which is also referred to as of course, this is the full form of that scalable vector graphics. Now, the reason why you might want to do this most times, you might want to, add this to your presentation. There's a different way to also embed this on a web browser. But let's assume you're trying to add this to your presentation or you're trying to share this with, your boss at work or your co-workers. You might want to just download this or, possibly just share this file and add them to this file. Maybe you don't want to add anybody to this file. Maybe it's a rough work and you're just trying to describe something. You might want to download this as a PDF and share, on the group or the work Slack or, any application you use for collaboration, right, in the workspace. You can also publish this chart, and I think this is what I do most of the time. I publish this. So when you publish this, it means someone can access this via a link, right? Or I can embed this, So when I click on embed, it means I I am basically trying to, let's click OK. So it's going to give me what we refer to as an iframe. So let's say you're working with developers in your company and you want to embed this on a web page so that when you have any form of changes, this would change. This will also reflect automatically. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to show you how cool that can be. First, I'm going to delete this item, or maybe we can just move it down to the new, the other sheet. So now we have this on its own sheet, right? Of course, we have to probably call this, let's call this, okay, column charts, chat, okay. So let's leave it this way. Yeah, so I think I can also just, let's see. So you can move this to its own sheet, or you can decide to, copy this and probably just move it to the dashboard here. So I just copied it to the dashboard, and yeah, so for this column chart as well, I think I might want to copy this chart, right, by clicking on copy chart. Okay, I want to also copy it to the dashboard so that while we have it on its own sheet, we also have kind of like a reference, to that particular chart. So let's just expand this. So this is just, let's say I'm working on that dashboard I would describe earlier, right? So we can use this to create multiple charts and, try to explain to our boss, or, yeah, someone called it a chat board. Okay, that makes sense. Let's do that. So chat board, I think I like that name. Okay, so now we have this on our chat board. You can put in your headings if you want to. Of course, you can also edit this, right? You can edit the title if you want to edit that title, right? You can definitely edit the title. Of course, you don't want to leave this title. It makes no sense. But yes, that is possible. In our next class, and the final session of this classes tomorrow, I'm going to, do some some advanced stuff, and if you are part of that class, you're going to learn more. We'll see how to really work with a realistic set of data, right? I have an example. I'll be working with you on that tomorrow. So before the end of this session, we're not going to exceed an hour here. I simply want to show you how you might want to embed this if you're working with a developer. So I'm going to do a little bit of scripting. I'm not going to spend more than 2-3 minutes doing that, and you don't have to do that. But just to show you that when you're working on this and you want your developers to embed this on a web page, you don't want to have your developers tell you it's not possible, right? So maybe you're a product manager, a data scientist, or currently working on the cloud, and you just want to embed something. You need to understand that this is possible. Okay, so that's what I'm basically trying to show you. So we're going to publish this chart. We're going to click on embed, and then we're going to click on publish. Okay, and now we have this iframe. So I'm basically going to copy this iframe. You don't have to write code. So I'm going to share my my whole desktop so you see how I will do that. Someone is saying he can't hear anything. I'm assuming that that is a network problem from their end. Let me know on the chat if you can hear me, because I am still speaking. Okay, so let's go ahead and share. Please drop a message on the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. Drop a message on the chat. I want to be sure that you can hear me. Okay, you can drop an emoji. Okay, so I'm assuming. Okay, thank you, Dante. So someone can hear me. Okay, so I'm just sharing my desktop right now, and what I'm going to do is quite simple, but you really don't need to do this at all. So I'm just trying to show you the possibility of sharing that link. So all you have to do is basically share this link with your developer team, right? And what they have to do is to embed this on a web page. So they don't have to complain that it's not possible. So I'm simply going to create a new file. So this is going to be a web page, because I want a situation where, so let's forget about this. I want a situation where our engineers, should be able to, showcase this on our, maybe like a website. It can be our website if that's what you want. it can be on your website. So I'm not going to do anything complex. I'm just going to paste this item in here, and let's open up this web page. This web page is going to load up on our browser, which is what I'm doing right now. So now you see we have this embedded, right here within our browser. So if maybe you're working with a company and you want this to always show on the browser. Now, here's the amazing thing. If we go back to our spreadsheet and, we edit the data. So for example, you see right here, we have this guy with 900,000 Naira as the salary range. So if we change that data, let's take this off and let's change that data to where? Okay. Where is that value? Oh, right here. So I'm going to change this data to, let's say 20,000. Wow, okay. Let's say 20,000. So you see, now we have 20,000. The tax changes to 2,000. And let's go back to that chart. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm simply going to refresh this page, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to save this first. Let's go back to the previous chart, right? You always have to go back to the previous chart. So this is the previous chart, and we're going to try to update this chart. Let's see if we can do that here. Okay. So we cannot, let's see, customize. Okay, so I see that this is supposed to have changed. Oh yeah, okay. So this changed 20,000. That is this value, I believe, 91522. Let's verify that. Let's verify that. 291522. All right. Okay, so that changed. So let's go back to this and let's see if I refresh what happens again. I'm simply going to check here. So I think this particular embedded item did not change, and maybe I might have to publish this again. So let's try that if I have to publish this again. So if this changed and now we have this to be the item with 500, publish this chart again. So is there a way to make this up to date? So let's see. Publish, stop, automatically publish when changes are made. I think that was the idea. Okay, so this was automatically published when, yeah, of course. Let's go ahead and refresh once again to see what is happening here. Okay, so this did not change. I'm going to copy this again and let's just verify that. I hope this was selected initially. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do that again now. So back to the code where I added that frame paste, and let's go ahead and refresh again. Okay, so I think something is probably wrong with so I think something is probably wrong with my, it's going to be from my end, I guess. I'm not, because I've used this multiple times, and let's go ahead and try this again. So automatically republish when changes are made. Okay, all right, so let's see. Save this, ensure that it's gone, okay. Bring this back, refresh. Okay, so I think something is actually wrong because it keeps giving me the old set of data. So I'm going to try an incognito window just to see if I have the same value. So I seem to have the same value. So it means something is definitely not working properly. Okay, so yeah, maybe I'm going to try to resolve this, to understand where the problem is coming from. This is supposed to updates automatically, right? That is the idea. When this updates automatically, you can always have a company work with the same dashboard, and they expect to see the same, like the same dashboard on the web without having too much changes. But for some weird reasons, that's not working. So, and I'm sure I'm probably doing something wrong. Yeah, probably doing something wrong. Let's try working with a link this time around. Let's publish this and let's use a link this time to see just that dashboard. And obviously from the link that works, right? So once they click on this link, it gives them this page, and that change was effected. But for some weird reasons, when it comes to working with the embed, okay. So let's go to the column charts. Yeah, so the column chart was changed as well. Okay, let's try to publish this. Publish. Okay. Copy this. Let's drop it in here once again. Save. So back to our browser. Refresh. Okay, so that changed. I mean, that changed now. Apologies for the size. Yeah, so for the size, I have to edit this. I don't want to edit code, on this call, but basically that changed. So for some reasons, it wasn't changing with the other view. So that's something I have to resolve. Maybe, yeah, that's something I definitely have to resolve. Let's try one more time, one last time, because it's already 1 p.m. West African time. So let's go ahead and try this once again. 300, okay, let's copy. Yeah, so it's currently published. Save, okay. Back to the page, refresh. So that changed. Okay, so my assumption here, because basically, I mean, this is the same thing. My assumption here is that it takes a while to change, right? I'm going to try this one more time, just to edit the value and see what is going to happen. But my assumption here is probably the internet connection, or maybe for some reasons, it's taking a while to change, or to, effect that change on the chart, on the embedded chart, basically. So let's go ahead and add a new value. This time I'm using 800,000. Okay, I'm going to save this. That has been saved. Let's first verify that that was changed. So if we go back to the chart board, now we're going to check to see this is the item with 800,000. So of course it's reflected in here. And if we check back, on the web page and we refresh this, you see that did not change immediately, right? So yeah, so my assumption here is that this is going to take some time. It's going to change. Now it changed, right? So obviously it changed after I refreshed twice. Yeah, so in case this happens, don't be confused. I think what you just have to do is probably wait for a while and refresh your web page. And of course, this will change after some time. So that is it for this session. I hope you really, enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, I will spend the next 2 minutes taking your questions from the chat. Yeah. So I say we have 30 views. If you have any questions, go ahead and, drop your questions. I will take those questions, and then we would, that will be the end of the session. Okay. Right. Okay, so if there are no questions, I can't see any questions coming in, then I assume that you understand what we've done so far. And I mean, it's a very wonderful experience here for me. And I hope you had a fun time learning how to work with, basic formulas and also creating basic charts. So do have a great day, do have a productive weekend, and I'll see you in the next session tomorrow. Bye for now.